Hello everyone and welcome to a paper discussion of the Polity paper of 2026, the prelims which was conducted recently on the 24th of May. So let's begin our discussion on those polity questions. We'll also try to include some governance questions and the surprise element, the couple of ethics questions that came in the exam. So first up, we have this question. So we are discussing set A. The question number was 51. Mr. X, a senior officer, was overseeing a critical vaccination program during a pandemic. He found that a private service provider responsible for vaccine distribution was compromising on quality to make profits. Despite immense pressure to manage the issue due to vested interests, he raised his voice based on the principles of public administration, which he learned during various training programs attended across his career. He reported the issue to the appropriate vigilance authority and halted the contract to ensure citizen welfare. So, which one among the following principles of public administration was most strongly demonstrated by Mr. X's action? So, Mr. X ensures that he is holding an important post, and while holding that important post, he makes sure that the concerned, let's say in this case, the vaccine distribution is not compromised with. Any kind of company, any kind of service provider has to provide the services with utmost responsibility, and he ensures accountability. So when I say accountability, I mean to say accountability for the actions as well as the inactions. So other options are not correct. Spirit the corps, this simply means what? Team spirit. The idea of team spirit, there is nothing relevant to team spirit here, so incorrect. Equity does not really matter. Equity means welfare, justice, distribution, not required here. And delegation, meaning devolving the powers or functions to somebody else, a lower authority, also does not apply here. Accountability, easy and simple. Next question, slightly longer. So these questions are long, they are easy in the nature, they might take some time to solve, but are actually easy. So I think we normally avoid reading newspapers and editorials. If you have a habit of reading newspapers, editorials, etc. on a regular basis, this will be of no concern to you in terms of time consumed. Now, in a multi-ethnic district where both economic competition and historical grievances frequently led to community tensions, a flashpoint has arisen with a government decision to allocate land for waste management facility near a tribal hamlet, sparking protests by the tribal community. Now, they have claimed that the land was sacred and critical to their cultural identity. So, land is being allocated, a tribal piece of land, or maybe a land near a tribal hamlet is being allocated for waste management. Okay, so clear issue of compromise. Now at the same time, urban residents and the local industries supported the project, citing severe solid waste challenges and health concerns. So the people in the urban areas living nearby, they are concerned because of the waste management issues or solid waste issues. So they want this project, whereas when it comes to the tribals, they don't want this project. So in this situation, they raise questions on waste challenges and health concerns due to lack of proper disposal site. The conflict has escalated with road blockades, social media campaigns, and allegations of police excesses. As a responsible government official, you are tasked with resolving the situation through mediation, ensuring a sustainable outcome that balances environmental needs, tribal rights, and urban public health. All three need to be balanced. Consider the following statements with reference to the above. Now, the statement says, number one, a successful conflict resolution process must begin with acknowledging the cultural concerns. Very important. See, we have to, before discussing any kind of alternative, firstly accept the fact that the tribals have that land in use and it relates to their culture. So we have to acknowledge the concerns of opposing parties first. Fair, absolutely correct. The government should move ahead with the project without delay to address urban health concerns. Of course not. How can you move ahead with the project without any concerns for the sentiments of tribals? We cannot always use utilitarianism everywhere. So, utilitarianism, the largest good for the largest number, might not be apt here. Tribal rights are important. So, we can actually eliminate 2. It's a very wrong option. Gone, gone, gone. So, we have the answer. Let's read 3. Creating a multi-stakeholder dialogue platform. Yes, multi-stakeholder, various stakeholders coming together on a platform, discussing, having a dialogue, including tribal leaders, environmental experts, municipal representatives. Perfect statement. And that is the greatest way forward. Acknowledge the rights, discuss on a broad platform where all groups are invited to have their representatives. And then conducting an independent environmental and social impact assessment, ESIA, of course. And whatever findings come out, please release those findings transparently to both sides. That can help both sides understand, come to a common ground. So this is also correct. Right answer is A. And one more question. Miss X is a mid-level civil service official working in the urban development department of a major city. Recently, she was involved in approving a contract for a public infrastructure project, a new community park. During the approval process, she received a piece of confidential information indicating that one of the shortlisted contractors had a history of poor workmanship, allegations of corruption. So this means that amongst all the shortlisted contractors, there is one contractor against whom there are a lot of allegations of corruption in other cities. He has a history of poor quality of work, though nothing had been legally proven. Okay, that's a very important consideration. She has come to receive a confidential information. Source, we don't know. So when sources are not very clear, then that becomes a problem. Now, the head of the department, Mr. Y, advised her not to disclose this information to the project committee or the public because it could delay the project and damage the city's reputation. Classic. However, Ms. X believed that withholding such information compromised transparency and public interest or public trust. Which among the following should Ms. X do now? So, immediately disclose the information to the project committee and the public. Now, that would be improper. It could possibly also create confusion in the minds of people. So, I think 1 is not a great idea. Without knowing the source of information, without any legally proved fact, no accuracy of information, this would not go down well. Now, recommend removing the contractor from the shortlist to protect the project's integrity. Okay, now this is a bit harsh. Recommending removing the contractor, though the word is recommend, but still removing the contractor without offering them any kind of opportunity to be heard, how is it fair? It directly violates the second principle of natural justice. Odi alterum partem, right of fair hearing. You must hear both the sides. So clearly this is a bit too harsh. Okay. So propose a limited disclosure to an oversight committee. Yes, there can be a separate committee where we can have limited disclosure, and then keeping the information confidential. This committee can look into the allegations, etc., conduct further inquiries, investigations, so on and so forth. This seems perfectly fine. Now see, if you remove 1, this goes away and this goes away, but we still have an option C and B. Knowing UPSC, they might also mark C as correct, though rightfully B should be the answer, but we never know with UPSC. They can always say, you know, it was just a recommendation. That is possible, but that is a harsh recommendation. Any civil servant should not be devoid of this basic understanding of natural justice, right? We should not be biased and partial, especially with respect to sources of information, the origin of which we are not sure of. So B is the most appropriate answer. That is why, you know, in a MCQ type question, having ethics is never a great idea, because ethics requires some kind of explanation. Without the explanation, the essence is lost. But sadly, who can tell the UPSC all these things? They do as they please. Now, coming to hardcore polity-based questions. 54. X was addressing a seminar on the meaning of the term law as provided under Article 13. So, the definition of law under Article 13 is mentioned in 13 clause 3. X explained that the meaning of the term law in the Constitution of India was very comprehensive. Of course it is. It included ordinances, orders, and even rules and regulations. That is a very, very fair assessment to make. You will be surprised that Article 13 clause 3 defines what a law means, because of the context of Article 13, that no law can be made by the state which will take away your fundamental rights. Law here means ordinances, orders, bylaws, rules, regulations, notifications, customs or usages also are a part of law. Anyway, Y pointed out that the term law in Article 13 also included customs or usage. Exactly. To which X was not convinced. Okay, so based on the above, select the correct conclusion from the options given below. The views of both X and Y are correct. This is actually correct. Now see, their X is correct, including the view that non-inclusion of, this is wrong. Y's view is actually correct. Now, the problem is, the question says X is not convinced with respect to the this aspect. Can we say X is wrong? Possibly. X is incomplete at least. So, can we also mark D as correct? Possible. But I think a better answer would be C here. The views of both X and Y are correct. They should not have given this statement. Then it would have made perfect sense to mark C as the answer. But still, C would hopefully be the right answer in all likelihood. Okay. Then 55. Question number 55. A lot of people have raised concerns on this question. There is nothing wrong, absolutely. For any person who is reading the Bare Acts properly, these articles are largely followed by them, and some guesswork is a part of and parcel of life. So, there is no article in the Constitution of India that specifies that the Constitution of India will be officially called the Constitution of India. There is an article, Article 393. Okay. There is no article in the Constitution of India that specifies that Indian Independence Act 1947 and Government of India Act 1935 stand repealed. This is something that is taught in modern India, that this with the passage of the Indian Constitution, the adoption and the enactment and the coming into force, the previous laws were repealed. Nothing problematic about it. Article 395, the last article, mentions this very fact. And then there is no article in the Constitution of India that mentions 26th of January as a date of commencement. There is an article 394. We discussed this in the class also. Whenever we are discussing about the provisions of citizenship, we discuss this very important fact, that citizenship provisions start with the commencement of the Constitution. End with the commencement of the Constitution. So, who is a citizen of India as per Part 2, Articles 5 to 9? At the commencement of the Constitution, people who met the above mentioned conditions. So, that date of commencement is 26th of January, where almost 95% articles came into force. So, there is no article, there are articles for everything here. So, all three statements are correct, two statements are correct, only one statement is correct. So, there is no correct statement. B. Okay. Now, this is a question with regard to the persons with disabilities in India. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, an act passed by the Parliament of India in 2018. This is a law passed in 2016, not 2018, a very, very popular law. Possibly we will be dealing with this under social justice. So, gone. Mandates reservation in education and employment, places a legal duty on the governments to ensure, all these things are correct. This itself is wrong. The statement is wrong. Remove one, gone, gone, gone. You have the answer. Okay. So 2 is correct, 3 is wrong. 3 is wrong. Why? The National Divyangjan Finance and Development Corporation is a public sector organization set up by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. No, it is set up by the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, the same Ministry of Social Justice. But anyway, you need not know all these things. Just one small fact and you get the answer. Okay. Then question 57. Consider the following statements about the provisions pertaining to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So, provisions regarding the administration of the tribal areas in the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram are given in the 5th schedule. Absolute nonsense. They are given in the 6th schedule. 1 is wrong, easy and simple. All 3 statements are correct. Please eliminate it. Some tribes of India are entitled to exemption from paying income tax on certain incomes. Now that is a confusing statement. We'll come to that later on. Let's see if we can eliminate more. The Constitution of India provides for reservation of seats in the panchayats for women belonging to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So this is absolutely correct. We have the provision for reservation, Article 243, capital D. Yes. So there is only all 3 statements are correct is wrong. There are 2 correct statements that are statements 1 and 3. So 1 is wrong. We can remove this also actually. Now there are 2 correct statements or 1 correct statement. So see, when it comes to the second one, now we have only 2 options. We have safely eliminated B and D. In this case, always mark the answer. Okay, when you have 2 options left. Now, how do we use some intelligent guess, as we say? Some tribes of India, not all, some tribes are entitled to exemption from paying income tax on certain incomes. This is a very, very generalized, a very vague kind of statement. It is not a very fixed statement. So it's more likely to be correct. Because if I give an extreme statement, with no exceptions, if I had made a statement, all tribes of India, on all kinds of income, that is a very extreme statement, more likely to be wrong. This is such a vague statement that it will be correct in some circumstance. And it is correct. Under the Income Tax Act, Section 10, you will find that on certain kind of interest and dividends, people in these areas and other states also, Nagaland, Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, in various states across the country, people from the tribal communities, they are exempted from certain kinds of income tax. Nothing unique there. So we'll more likely lean towards marking this as correct answer, which would mean that A becomes the right answer. So this is how you take an intelligent guess. Next question. A question on the starred and unstarred questions was asked by UPSC for the first time ever. Now, consider the following statements in respect of questions asked by the MPs of India. Unstarred questions are those to which a member desires an oral answer. No, unstarred questions, written answer. Wrong. Starred questions are those to which a member desires a written answer. No, it is the exact opposite. Starred, oral answer, unstarred, written answer. Wrong. No supplementary questions can be asked on an unstarred question. No supplementary question can be asked on an unstarred question. See, when it comes to an unstarred question, what is the point there? The point is that we have to give a written answer. You have to collect the answer after the particular time period. Let's say after the end of question hour. At the end of question hour, you can go and collect your answer. So how will you get the time to ask the question? Perfectly fine. Supplementary questions are limited only to start questions and short notice questions. So one statement is correct. There is only one statement correct, and that includes statement 2. 2 statements wrong, all 3 wrong, no wrong. C is the right answer. Okay. Then we have one more question, number 59. Committee on the Welfare of SCs and STs. It's a joint parliamentary committee. Under the topic parliamentary committees, we have certain joint committees, members from both the houses. Although members of this committee are elected from both houses, the chairperson of this committee is appointed by the chairman of Rajya Sabha. No. This chairperson is appointed by the Lok Sabha Speaker. For every joint committee, the chairperson is appointed by Lok Sabha Speaker. You might claim it's a very challenging. How would I know this information? Okay, fair. Let's keep it on hold. 20 members are elected by Rajya Sabha and 10 members by Lok Sabha. Now we know this very well. In all joint committees, there is always the dominance of Lok Sabha members over Rajya Sabha members. So this is a wrong statement. It says 20 are from Rajya Sabha, 10 from Lok Sabha. No, it's the other way around, if at all. 2 is wrong. There are 4 correct statements is wrong. There is only 1 correct statement, and that is statement 2. Wrong. Eliminate these 2. Okay, now if you mark 1 as wrong, you can get the answer right now only. This also is wrong. But let's read the others as well. No minister except for Union Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment is eligible to be member of this committee. Sadly, that is not the case. Ministers are not members of all these joint committees. Very, very clear. This is wrong. Okay. So, and the 4th one, members are elected for a fixed term of 1 year. We know very well the membership is for 1 year, and every year the members might not change, but you have to reappoint or re-elect them. So this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. So there are 2 correct statements will also become wrong. So this means there is no correct statement. This is also wrong. Simple logic. Now, revamped Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, RGSA, the period of its implementation is from 1st April to 31st of March. Yes, this program was started in 2018-19 period by Ministry of Panchayati Raj. It was extended on the recommendation of the 15th Finance Commission. The 15th Finance Commission gave the extension of this Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan training, enhancing the capacity building or enhancing the capacity governance capabilities of the elected representatives of panchayats. That is what the program is all about. Last year in the 24-25 report, 2.42 crore elected representatives were trained under the Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan. So 1 is actually correct. Difficult statement, but okay. The key objectives of the revamped RGSA is to develop the governance capabilities of the Panchayati Raj institutions to deliver on the sustainable development goals. Okay. So this, great, right? This is also correct because that is the whole point of RGSA. The point of RGSA is to ensure that you develop the governance capabilities of the elected representatives of panchayats. 2 is correct. You have this, you get the answer already. But anyway, the share of the central funding for the revamped RGSA, how can the share for central funding be 100% for states? This is a panchayat program. Panchayat or local governance is a state list subject. Why would the center devolve 100% of it? So 3 had to be wrong anyway. Okay. Now, next one. This is a more generic question, 0 FIR. So what exactly is a 0 FIR? So whenever, let's say you are not sure, let's say you are traveling on a train and then some crime is committed. You get down to the nearest railway station and then go and get an FIR registered. So that is called 0 FIR because then that FIR was registered in a station outside the area of jurisdiction of the police station where the crime was committed. For example, the crime was committed in this area, but the train was traveling and you have reached here and now you are filing a complaint there. So this complaint is called a 0. This is how it is noted in the file records, 0 FIR. Okay, every FIR copy has some number. Now the task of the officer is to send that to the correct police station. Anyway, 0 FIR can be lodged at a police station even though the place of commission of a cognizable, non-cognizable offence is outside the territorial jurisdiction of that police station. That is the definition of 0 FIR. That is what it exactly means. Okay. Now see, there are certain things that you have to follow. Very, very important. For example, come to the 3rd one. Under 0 FIR, it is obligatory for the informant to furnish information electronically. Sounds so strange, right? I am the informant. Why should I be forced into giving information electronically? If let's say a crime is committed, my mobile phone was snatched. I'm on the road right now. How will I type a mail suddenly? I'll have to snatch somebody else's mobile phone to type a mail. Obligatory. This is wrong. Remove 3, remove 3. 1 is already correct. Right answer is C. See, this is how you solve this question. There is nothing unique about it. You don't have to have complications. You know what 0 FIR means, and that is enough. The rest is all common sense. Now, the officer in charge of the police station where a 0 FIR has been lodged may, with the permission of the competent authority, initiate a preliminary inquiry. So, this is not true. It is meant for cognizable offences only from 3 to 7 years. Okay. And what is this preliminary inquiry? Inquiry is not required. That officer take some actions, all those actions that are possible to be taken under that particular complaint, right? So that is there. Okay, right answer is C. A question from again governance. You know, these kind of questions were asked by UPSC long time ago, matching the department and the bodies to the correct ministry, etc. So they have launched it again. Central Economic Intelligence Bureau, coordination between various law enforcement agencies. Economic intelligence, just like ED. Department of Revenue, which is also the controlling body for Enforcement Directorate, which is under Ministry of Finance. This is wrong. How many of the above rows are the given details correctly matched? So all 3, let's eliminate it. Then Central Bureau of Investigation is actually correct, because CBI, even though CBI was established by the MHA in 1963, the body CBI functions as an attached office of DOPT, Department of Personnel and Training, under the Ministry of Personnel. Okay. So this point is correct. This means none is also wrong. So you have to pick 2 options left. You have to mark the answer. Serious Fraud Investigation Office. Serious to investigate complex corporate frauds. Herein lies the catch. It's corporate frauds. So Ministry of Corporate Affairs is more likely to handle this, not the Ministry of Finance. So this is also wrong. Right answer is A1 only. And then the last question. This is a very, very challenging question, and this is almost impossible to mark. Frankly, even if you get to read this information somewhere, very, very difficult to mark it. Anyway, so Interpol, various notices. Let's see. Silver notice. So what the hell is silver notice? Silver notice is primarily meant and is issued to identify and trace all the assets of the criminal. So A matches with 4. In news, so possible that you would know this. A4, pick this, eliminate this. Beyond this, it is very difficult to know it. It would be just like, you are forcing yourself to mug up useless information. But still, if this is the case, I think we would take a bet to mark the answer. If you are 100% sure and you have gone through the current affairs and you know silver notice relates to assets of criminals, then you should always mark the answer, because now it's a 50-50 chance. Now blue notice. Interestingly, there is a concept of black notice. Black notice. What is black notice? Black notice is meant for identifying bodies. You have any dead body, no trace, no identification, a black notice is issued seeking information on that unidentified body. Okay. Normally in USA, any unidentified body is called John Doe. So they have to write some name in the records, they write this name. If it's a female, they write Jane Doe. In India, we unofficially use a term called Ashok Kumar. If there is any dead body, no identification, for the records, we term it Ashok Kumar. Anyway, so C is 1. C is 1 and you have the answer. Then green notice. Green notice primarily is with respect to providing warning about person's criminal activities. When some person is being considered as a threat, somebody is a habitual offender and is known to commit crimes, to inform people that this fellow might go crazy again. Green notice. And then blue notice. To collect additional information about a person's identity, location, etc. in relation to a criminal investigation. So the answer is C. A is 4, B is 2, C is 1 and D is 3. Okay. So that's about it as far as our discussion on the questions from polity and governance are concerned, and that's all for me. Thank you and Jai Hind.